scheduled castes. Now I think in this section we'll see scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, then disabled, old, children, all these people. Now your children and children and women more or less will have similar kinds of issues, at least with respect to till childhood. Till childhood they'll have similar issues, mostly, because sexual abuse, child marriages, all these are such activities which are impeding the rights of child. Okay. Now when you talk about scheduled castes, basically we'll see what is the status. Now when I talk about status, we'll see the demographic status as well as the socio-economic status. Then we'll see the issues persisting. Then what is the way forward. Status, socio-economic and demographic issues and way forward. Now when you talk about scheduled castes, you find that 17.7 percentage of 17.2 percentage of population is here scheduled castes. Scheduled caste. Now when you look at the below poverty line, it is around 38%. 38% of the people are below poverty line. And around 40% are malnourished. Around 40% are malnourished. 40% are malnourished. Now when you look at the literacy levels of scheduled castes, it's around 65%. It's around 65% literates. Now when you talk about one is BPL, literacy, malnutrition or malnourished. Population and literacy. Sufficient. But when you look at the crime rate against them, there is an increase of 8.7%. This is as per recent NCRB report. The recent NCRB report basically states that crime rate against scheduled castes have increased around 8.7%.
So 8.7% increase
So,
when compared to
last times.
crime rates
Against them. Sorry, pardon me, I think I've reversed this STs and SCs. This 8.7 was with respect to tribal, this is 26%. Pardon me, sorry. The crime rate, there is an increase of 26%. Yeah, comparatively higher.
So crime rate has increased by 20%.
Crime rate against or crimes against scheduled castes have increased by 26%. I think this is more than sufficient to evaluate the status of scheduled castes. Because when you look at all of these, whatever socio-economic things we have talked about, they are considered as the basic needs. Now, for example, if you are having access to education, then only you have potential or you have ability to realize the economic potential of an individual. Now, when you are not able to realize the economic potential of an individual, then it's going to take a hit. Okay. Now then further, the issues. Issues of scheduled castes: social, economic, political, ethical. Now when you look at social issues, education, health, or poor sanitation or poor nutrition, basic needs, lack of access to basic needs. Then caste oppressions or caste discriminations or social discriminations. Now when you look at employment, high unemployment rate, the economic aspect, the high unemployment rate. Now major occupation they undertake is manual scavenging. Now when you look at the political representation, marginal representation or marginal political representation. Coal mines as such, there is no specific report, but there is basically stereotyping of scheduled caste community to manual scavenging, especially prevalent in your Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, Uttar Pradesh, all these regions. Mumbai. Marginal political representation. Then when it comes to other political issues, I think untouchability is one issue where you're supposed to write with respect to social issues.
When we're talking about marginal political representation, it's with respect to the population itself, they are given the constituencies. They are allotted the constituencies. So how can we say it's marginal?
Marginal only.
But it's representing the population terms they have given.
But they are not having such a voice. Do we have reservation in Rajya Sabha? No. Then almost 50% disability then.
So, but Lok Sabha itself is the most powerful they are having.
Not necessarily.
And also in open category also they are fighting for stage.
That is your anguish. So marginal political representations. We call it as marginal political representations because they do not have necessary platform or they do not have necessary numerical strength to basically support their systems or to basically support their policies or to promote their policies. Okay. Now that is the reason why you have number of Dalit movements happening. Now when they were given necessary political representations, then do you think what is the necessity of Dalit movements? The fundamental reason behind Dalit movements or Dalit protests, be it your Dalit Panther movement or be it your Dalit movement in Jharkhand or be it in UP or Maharashtra, the fundamental reason is to basically gain a voice to their issues. To gain a voice to their issues and to make the other population of Dalits conscious about what is the sad plight of scheduled caste. Right? Fundamental rights. Then here, as part of society, add even crimes. For example, atrocities. That is why there is a special legal mechanism in order to deal with their atrocities, Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989 or Protection of Civil Rights Act 1955 in the context of implementation of Article 17. Now when you look at ethical, basically the inherent under treatment of an individual who is belonging to scheduled caste is an ethical issue for them. Because when you look at the moral value of a life or moral value of an individual, he is not being respected. Now, if a person who is a scheduled caste has the same physiological conditions as that of a normal candidate, that means the moral value of the life of a scheduled caste person or the moral value of a life of a normal upper caste person, don't you think both are same? Because at the end of the day, both are human beings. Yes or no?
Yes.
Now, when the moral value of the life of the scheduled caste person and the moral value of the life of the upper caste person are same, then what is the logical premise behind their under treatment? So that is one of their ethical issues. Now, because of this under treatment, because of the social discrimination, because of caste discrimination, because of caste oppressions, you have again the morale or the undermined moral value of life. Undermined moral value of life. Is this clear? Undermined moral value of life.
There has also been reports that conviction rate among SCs and STs have been
Extremely low. Now in 2019 there was a report that was given with respect to the implementation levels of SC/ST Atrocities Act 1989, and there was found that the conviction rate with respect to this Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989 was just 26%. That means out of 100 cases registered, only 26 are convicted. Now these low rates of conviction is because of poor presence of criminal justice system, poor enforcement mechanism, non-sensitized police functioning. Non-sensitized police functioning as well as non-sensitized police training. Usage of muscle power, money power. Right? Because when you look at the scheduled caste as a community of society, they are basically perceived as a weaker sections or marginal sections or downtrodden sections because of their socio-economic conditions. Now, because of the poor socio-economic conditions and because of the lack of access to certain social needs like your education, health, the individual potential is not being realized. There is a kind of shortcoming with respect to realization of the productivity of the individual. Now, when the productivity of the individual is undermined, don't you think there is lack of income security? Yesterday's flowchart, when I was talking about poverty, then again they form a vicious cycle. They form a vicious cycle. Right? Now, this is one aspect. Now, because of the poor absence of socio-economic needs or access to socio-economic needs, now they cannot have or they cannot access your justice because your justice system is costly. Although you have Article 39A for free legal aid, but you have your justice being little costly because you are supposed to buy justice. But the flip side to this Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989 is it is being misused. It is being misused and it is being taken as a tool of vengeance. Now what happens, for example, there is an officer who is working very sincerely. There is a sincere officer, say example X. Now there is some policy which he has taken against a politician. A politician. Now suddenly this politician uses this Prevention of Atrocities Act 1987 or 89 and he brings in an scheduled caste candidate or scheduled tribe candidate and makes him the face of it. Makes him the face of it, and because of an honest officer being honest with respect to his work and because of denial of the proposals that are made by the politician, now he is being subjected to the allegation of indulging in the atrocities against scheduled caste candidate or scheduled tribe candidate. Now they go and put a case, file an FIR on this particular Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe Prevention of Atrocities, or using this Prevention of Atrocities Act. Now, in order to avoid this misuse of Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989, in 2018, Supreme Court has come up with few guidelines. But post 2018, few guidelines that were given by Supreme Court, there were a lot of hue and cry with respect to the protests that happened. It was all orchestrated protests. Now, because of the orchestrated protests, the clauses have to be nullified by an act of Parliament. The changes, whatever your judiciary has done as part of making this law more accountable, making this law free or shielding it from misuse, but instead it was nullified because of the pressure or political lobby, or because of political populism or populistic tendencies, because at the end of the day you have 17% vote bank. Okay, so this is all about the issues of scheduled castes, and only thing, most of them are originated from your caste system. Caste system being part of your social structure, caste system being deep enrooted into the systems of social structure, and as a resultant of this structural aspect of Indian society in the form of caste, the nature of interactions between two people or two communities have differed. And because of the variation with respect to the inter-community interactions, be it with respect to marital, be it with respect to dining, be it with respect to religious, what happened is the corresponding outfalls or the corresponding negative externalities of these interactions have resulted into the issues with respect to the scheduled castes, because they are considered as Adima Jatis, they are considered as Panchama Varna, they are considered as untouchables. Yes? Now, what is the way forward for this, or what is the tackling mechanism, or what are the measures? Intercaste marriages.
Social divide.
My dear, don't be vocal about so much about intercaste marriages. We have better measures first, then we'll talk about intercaste marriages.
Online,
First, constitutional measures. What are the constitutional measures that are related to your scheduled caste? Article 14, Article 15, Article 16, Article 17, Article 19, Article 21, Article 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, Article 41, or sorry, Article 39 B, C, D, Article 39 Clause B, Clause C, Clause D, Article 39A, Article 41, Article 42, Article 44, Article, not 44, Article 46, Article 46, then Article 51 Clause A, then Article 331, Article 333, then Article 335, Article 338, Article 341, then Article 326. Should I repeat?
I'll go and check it again.
Between like fundamental rights in the DPSPs, could you just repeat?
I'll repeat once more. Article 14.
Sir, how did you remember? I mean, if you don't mind me asking.
How did you remember?
I mean, did you classify this categorically separately, or is it?
I remember important articles at least.
I mean,
అన్ని
and then
కవర్
categorization.
అన్ని కవర్ చేస్తున్నారు ఇంపార్టెంట్
Huh?
అన్ని కవర్ చేస్తున్నారు
I mean, important with respect to scheduled castes, important with respect to scheduled tribes, important with respect to federalism, important with respect to local governments. That's how I remember.
ఓకే
So basically categorize them. And then,
Now I'll share a very funny incident that happened. Just because you asked. Okay. Now what happened was, like, I think that was my first year of preparation. I mean, my master's first year. I was parallelly preparing for this. Then it used to be such that after my college, after my studies, or I mean, after my college or after my studies, after my coaching, everything, it used to, like, at the end of the day, it used to be around 2 o'clock in the night. Now, it used to be around 2 o'clock in the night by the time I sleep, and morning 6 o'clock, again, I'll have an optional class online. Okay. So, 2 o'clock, I think that day I was really tired or something. I think we had completed our end sems or something with respect to MTech first year. Then I had a roommate who was from Andhra only. He had a lot of Kerala friends. That person who was my roommate had a lot of Kerala friends. Then I silently entered the room and slept off. And I think by then, 4 people were discussing about, some reservation stuff. They were discussing about reservation stuff. I did not open my mouth. I just came and slept. I don't know what was happening, but they were talking about OBC reservations. Then suddenly at around 2:15 or 2:20 in the night, the discussion was going on, and subconsciously I heard something wrong about reservation policy. Subconsciously. Just imagine, I was dead tired and I was completely like a dead body. I was sleeping. At 2:20 or 2:30, I get up and say, according to Article 335 and according to Article 340, whatever you are saying is wrong. The reservation policy is completely determined by the role of the president. And I slept off. Believe me, for next 3 days, they ran away from me. Next day morning, generally we eat breakfast together. Next day morning, they didn't sit with us.
Why?
They were scared.
What happened?
They were scared. Just imagine at 2:30 in the night, some idiot some person who is sleeping like a dead body and gets up in the middle of the night and says Article 335 and Article 340 and he sleeps off. I mean, just on a lighter note, but remember, you are supposed to remember all the very important articles of Indian polity. Because you can remember only if you have an interlinkage. That is why when you interlink your DPSP and when you interlink your fundamental rights, it becomes very easy for you to remember. Now, when you talk about article, this with respect to constitutional provisions, I said 14, 15, 16, right to equality. 17, again right to equality with respect to very specific untouchability. Then when I talk about Article 21, freedom of expression. 19 is freedom of expression. Article 21 is life. Article 23 is Begar. Article 23 is Begar. Then you have your 25 to 28, 29, 25 to 28 is religious. Right? They have their own preaching, profess and practice. Then when I come to Article 41, 39 BCD. Basically, your BCD basically focuses on creating an egalitarian society. Yeah. Basically focus on creating an egalitarian society. Article 39 BCD. Then Article 39 clause capital A basically provides for free legal aid. Right? Then your Article 41, then 46, 41, 46, then 51 clause A, because promotion of brotherhood, fraternity, 51 clause A. Then you come to Article 331 and 333 where it provides reservation, 331 and 333. Then 335 categorically emphasizes when there is a conflict between your efficiency and reservation. That means at the cost of reservation, the efficiency should not be undermined. So in order to take care of that provisions, that is the reason why your M. Nagarajan case versus Union of India 2006 was highlighted, because to uphold the clause of Article 335. Yes.
So when was the case here?
2006.
Nagarajan case.
M. Nagarajan case, and in 2018 there was a modification that was made to your M. Nagarajan case in the form of Jarnail Singh case. Jarnail Singh. This was 2018. Jarnail Singh. M. Nagarajan case 2006, Jarnail Singh 2018.
What was the modification?
Basically, in M. Nagarajan case, when they are asking for reservation in promotion or reservation in professional occupation, they had laid down 3 different criterias. And this Jarnail Singh, it has modified one of it. You refer that criteria. Okay. Because if I mention about that criteria, I need to explain it also. Now it will become little lengthy. Right? Which article? 335?
Take it up as a home.
335, then 326 also. 326. Then 341. 341. 341 and article 366.
I think even 243 also like reservation, particularly within the
243D and 243T you can include. 243D and 243T and article 366 also, where the list of the scheduled castes are mentioned, or the word scheduled caste is mentioned in 366. Now most of these articles will be very similar for your scheduled tribes also, except few, right? We'll see what.
determining the schedule caste coming to that, it's only the power of president or it's also the state.
President notifies it, but modifications are in the hands of Parliament. Parliament.
Not in the hands of state.
No. State basically identifies. President notifies. Parliament includes. Identification, notification and inclusion or modification. Identify, notify and modify. Identification is by your state, notification is by president, modification is by Parliament. That is with respect to your constitutional measures. Then you have your legal measures. Legal measures with respect to Prevention of or Protection of Civil Rights Act 1955. Then Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989. Just check this year, no, 1989 or 87 once. Somebody surf it. Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989 or 87.
$89.
89 only? Okay. Right? This is legal. Then when you talk about institutional, you have National Commission for Scheduled Castes, National Safai Karamcharis, NSK, FC, I think Federation Council, National Safai Karamcharis Federation Council, NCSC, NSKFC. Here under legal you include even Manual Scavenging Act 2013. Manual Scavenging Prevention and Prohibition Act 2013. Okay. Now what is the way forward? What is the way forward for ensuring the better status of scheduled castes?
Government schemes,
Hmm?
provisions, government, positive affirmations, positive affirmative actions.
Positive affirmative actions we have taken here.
Yeah.
Then
Like implementing
FDC.
FDC, Developmental Council,
Finance and Development.
Finance and Developmental Council. Yeah.
Corporation.
like those implemented like recently Ashok Mehra, I think, Supreme Court judge was saying like only few sections of the SCs are grabbing entire opportunity.
Yeah, that is there.
So
Basically cornering of benefits. We call it as cornering of benefits. Cornering of reservation benefits. Now, what do you basically mean by cornering of benefits is only certain sections of your scheduled castes are benefiting from the reservation policies. Because when you look at the other sections of the scheduled castes, basically they do not have basic education and health. Now, when they do not have basic education and health, how do you think they'll avail the process or avail the provisions of reservation during their employment? Yes. So that is what is meant by cornering of benefits. That's why they are talking about something called as subcategorization. Subcategorization or creamy layer concept. Like your OBCs where you have a creamy layer, a similar concept with respect to SCs. That means keeping an income criteria in order to avoid this cornering of benefits. Right? Is this clear? Now, what is the way forward?
As Anganwadis provides nutrition,
Hmm.
so identifying the scheduled caste who really are undermined by malnutrition, they have to provide some extra to those people rather than.
Acha. You mean to say issue specific kind of
Identify
measures?
really needs those things rather than giving up many illegal activities are going on in
Acha.
by selling all those.
Okay.
And that's the concept of ration shops, PDS.
PDS.
PDS is
No.
different.
No, we are talking about way forward for your scheduled caste. One is implementation or enforcement. One is enforcement. Now the other one is you need to get over something called as institutional inertia. This is the key word with respect to your governance. Institutional inertia. Getting away with institutional inertia. For example, your police has an institution. They doesn't want to work. That means they are. What is your first law of Newton? Inertia, law of inertia. It continues. It continues to be in rest unless and until there is an external force acting on it. Yes. So institutional inertia.
Second one here was false. Newton's second law of motion
In terms of
body continues to be in state of motion.
that is first, no?
First, like if it is in motion, if it is in rest, it shall continue in state of rest. If it is in motion, it shall continue in state of motion itself.
Yeah. That is first law only. Then second law is F equals to ma.
Like what is it in the context of Indian bureaucracy might be wrong.
Acha. I don't know. I'm not getting you actually.
Like if we keep a institution running, it doesn't continue for long. There are many hurdles which pull it back and set it to bad status.
Mm-hmm.
Conservation tendencies.
Acha. Okay. So one way forward is getting over this institutional inertia with respect to strengthening the institutions in tackling the issues of scheduled castes.
So that is the enforcement of existing provisions.
Yes. Enforcement of existing provisions and laws. Next is empower them. Empower with greater emphasis on robust hand-holding mechanisms. For example, Stand Up India. What is your Stand Up India, Startup India? Stand Up India, you have a categorical reservation for SCs, STs and women. So Stand Up India is a classic example for empowering these marginal sections through hand-holding mechanisms. Is this clear? So this is more than sufficient. This is more than sufficient if you know the issues with respect to scheduled castes. Right? Now next section is scheduled tribes. See, scheduled tribes I cannot discuss in detail because this has a lot of details when it comes to its issues. I can only generalize the issues with respect to scheduled tribes in your general studies class, because we study whole lot of a paper on tribes and their status in our anthropology, which I cannot put forth. We'll just generalize the issues, we'll just generalize the causes of issues, and we'll see what is the way forward. Now when you look at the status, it is around 8.6% as per demography. 705 tribes, 75 particularly vulnerable tribal groups. 705 tribes and 75 particularly vulnerable tribal groups. Now when you talk about the BPL, it is around 43%. And malnutrition, is around 48%. Literacy is around 50%. And crime rate is around increase of 8.6%. BPL 43%, malnutrition 48%, literacy 50%, crime rate 8.6%. Right? This is the basic demographic status of tribes. Now when you look at the general features of scheduled tribes, one is they would have cultural autonomy or cultural connectedness. One common feature is they would have a lot of connectedness or attachment with respect to the culture. Then the parameter or the factor of isolation, geographical isolation. Now when you look at the habitat regions of most of your tribes, they are mostly concentrated in your forest regions. They are mostly concentrated in your forest regions. That is the reason why we have geographical isolation. They have contact shyness. Basically, they are shy or they are frightened with the tribal, non-tribal contact. That is what is meant by contact shyness. Now, why was an American citizen killed in your Andaman Nicobar? It was basically because of this contact shyness. It is because of this contact shyness, and they are frightened that their natural way of living, their natural way of life will be somehow disturbed. It will be somehow distracted. Now, in order to preserve this kind of destruction, they maintain this cultural shyness. They maintain this cultural shield around. The other feature is they are mostly pre-literate or agrarian economy. They are mostly pre-literate or agrarian economy. Pre-literate or agrarian economy. Pre-literate basically means like your proto-historic kind of population, your IVC. I mean, they are not educated. The awareness with respect to literacy is not there. Why not say illiterate? Because when you look at their origins, they are basically considered as the dasyus of your IVC. That is the reason why we classify them as pre-literate. Because the periods of proto-history and the periods of prehistory are considered as pre-literate societies. So the indigenous nature of this particular community basically gives them this name, rather than calling it as illiterate, because they do not have any incentive of being themselves or becoming themselves literate. Because once they are literate, they need to have a tribal, non-tribal contact. Now, when they are going to have this tribal, non-tribal contact, it is very certain that they are going to have certain cultural assimilations, certain cultural subjugations, certain cultural oppressions. Now, in order to withhold or in order to withstand these forces of cultural subjugations, cultural assimilations, cultural oppressions, they continue to maintain themselves as pre-literate societies. And the other feature is they are mostly egalitarian in nature. They are mostly egalitarian in nature. These are general features of tribes. Now, by understanding these general features, I think you will be able to comprehend the issues of tribes. Yes? Can you comprehend the issues of tribes? Because I said, because of cultural autonomy, because of cultural connectedness, because of culture shyness, and because of their inherent nature of being a pre-literate society, we said they are feared or they are frightened with tribal and non-tribal contact. Now, any tribal issue that is persisting in the geographical territory of India, it is mostly centered around tribal, non-tribal contact. I think we have discussed this when we are discussing insurgency and when we are discussing Naxalism. Ethnic conflicts. Now, when you look at these problems or issues of tribes, now tell me, what are the social problems of tribes? Don't you think they are very similar to that of your scheduled castes? Don't you think they are very similar to that of scheduled castes? Yes?
But these people will not come out from that areas. They will come out. Yes.
The major social issues of scheduled tribes, they are centered around culture. Cultural oppressions, cultural assimilations, cultural subjugations,
And they're alienated.
cultural alienations.
They don't want change.
Yes, to an extent they resist change. To an extent, you can say that. You can say that they resist change. Right? So that is with respect to your social. Rest other issues are very similar to that of your scheduled castes. Scheduled castes?
Manuals given like for STs also.
No, not for scheduled tribes. There are different economic problems with respect to scheduled tribes. Now, I said all the types of problems that are in nature of economy or your economic issues are mostly centered around or mostly as a resultant of tribal, non-tribal contact. Tribal and non-tribal contact. Tribal and non-tribal contact. Now, when you look at the economic issues, one is land alienation. Land alienation, unemployment, underemployment. Land alienation, unemployment, underemployment. Then, bonded labor. Bonded labor.
Land alienation becomes like from the forest regions or
From any kind. When you look at your development induced displacement, when you are constructing a dam, what happens basically?
relocated.
Rehabilitate. But when you look at the scheduled tribes, what basically happens is because of, a kind of land alienation takes place because they consider forest as the way of their life. Now, when you are, as part of development induced displacement, you are displacing these tribal communities from their native land. They have an ethnic connection, they have a kinship relationship with respect to the land. Now, Warrior Elwyn is supposed to be one of the prominent advocator for the tribal rights. Now he gives a very beautiful line about tribes. He says, the characteristic feature of tribe is they have an kinship bond with land and a spiritual bond with forest. That means their inheritance, their generations, their forefathers or their procreations, they are some way or the other related to the land, because they believe that it is their natural way of life. Now when you look at the forest also, they consider the forest as a way of life. Yes. That is why it is said they have a spiritual bond with the forest. And whatever kind of economic issues are being originated with respect to your scheduled tribes, they are basically originated with the issue of alienation of land and forest, which basically disturbs their inherent natural way of life. And all those manifestations are this: land alienation, unemployment, underemployment, bonded labor, poverty, prostitution. All these are basically a resultant of tribal, non-tribal contacts. Exploitation, yes.
Lack of basic needs.
That is your social issues. Education, health, kind of cultural alienations. Now when you talk about your political, again, political representation or weaker sections, they lack political awareness. Now tell me, how many tribal movements happened after independence? Hardly. But whereas your peasant movements or scheduled caste movements, they were there. That means it basically shows or portrays that there is an inherent political ignorance. There is lack of political awareness with respect to the scheduled tribes. Yes. Now what about the ethical issues? Same issues. The morale, the debate of livelihood, the debate of development-induced displacement. Development-induced displacement. Right? These are certain issues of scheduled tribes. Development-induced displacement. Right?
Yes, sir.
Now what are the measures?
Awareness. Awareness.
Awareness. Again, split in this constitutional.
Yeah.
Your article 14. Your article 14, 15, 16, 17.
17.
Yes.
17, 19,
Yes.
I mean, do we have untouchables on?
Yes. Among tribes.
I mean, I did not know.
Yes, we have. Because when you look at the Protection of Civil Rights Act 1955 or Prevention of Untouchability Act 1970s, I think it was amended in 1970s on the basis of Article 17, it is applicable to both scheduled castes and scheduled tribes.
Prevention of untouchability not in literal sense. Prevention of untouchability not in literal sense. But it also includes literal sense meaning, but just not itself. It's not just restricted.
Yeah. Any kind of movement restriction, it's considered as untouchable. Now, one of the clauses that was considered during your Shabarimala case was also a claim of untouchability against women. Okay. Your Article 19, 21, 23, 23, 25 to 28, 29, 30. Same again 41, 46. 51A. 51 clause A. Then 331, 333, 335, 338A, 331, 333, 335, 338A, 342, 366, 243 clause D, 243 clause T, 244 clause 1, 244 clause 2, 244 clause 1, 244 clause 2. Can somebody open and see what is Article 168, if I'm not wrong? I mean, there needs to be a special ministry for tribals in 4 states. Which article is that? I don't remember. It's around 160s, 170s only. I think either it is 168 or either it is 172, 173, something like that. Not able to recollect. Separate ministries for Bihar, Jharkhand, all this. 4 states. Odisha. Tribal population. I think 164. Huh? 164 or 168 or 170.
168 is for Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh.
168
Yes.
tribal ministries.
No, sir.
No, sir. It is Legislative Assembly.
Bihar, Madhya Pradesh should be having 2 houses.
Okay. Now what is
164.
164? I think it's governed. 4?
Provisions as to ministers, chief minister shall be appointed.
Appointed to the governor.
No, not that. Not 164. There is one exclusive provision for tribal ministries.
Schedule in schedule.
No. Article.
Tribal welfare minister.
164 clause 2. What is it?
It says that the Council of Ministers shall be collectively responsible to the Legislative Assembly.
Has Finland
So
included
164 clause 1, it empowers the state to establish special ministry for scheduled tribes in states like Chhattisgarh.
Exactly. 164 clause 1. That's what.
tribal welfare minister?
164 clause 1. That's what. I was confused. 160s it was. I don't remember. Right? So 164 clause 1, 244 clause 1, 244 clause 2, 275 clause 2, 282 clause 2. 164 clause 1,
244 clause 1.
244 clause 1, 244 clause 2, 243 clause D, 243 clause T you wrote.
Yes, sir.
Then 275 clause 2,
280.
282. Basically, you're 275 and 282 with respect to fund allocation. Your 275 clause 2 is a statutory grants which is provided for your Article 244 clause 2. You can even include 5th schedule and 6th schedule.
It says Article 243, 330 and 334.
Which one?
Deals with the reservation of seats for SCs and STs in House of People and the Panchayats.
Then what is 331? Is it Anglo-Indians? Just check once. What is 331? I think I must be confused. No issues. 331. What is 331?
And also Article 371 which deals with special provisions.
Yeah, that is there.
331 is with Anglo-Indian community.
Anglo-Indian. Then it is 330 and or 332 and 334.
Article 243,
Clause D, Clause T is exclusive reservation.
330, 334.
Okay, 330 and 334 then. Sorry, correct me. Even for scheduled caste also correct it. 330 and 334. And 335 deals with efficiency. Yes.
So in 332,
What is 332?
reservation of seats for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe.
What is 330?
Here it says Article 243, 330 and 334 deals with the reservation of seats for SCs and STs in House of People and the Panchayats.
332.
332.
330, 334, 243.
In legislative assemblies of the states, it is therefore proposed to insert a provision clause 6 of Article 332 of the Constitution. It is 332.
It is 332. Achha. What is 334 then?
Reservation of seats for the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes and the representation of Anglo-Indian community by nomination in the House of the People and legislative assemblies of all states.
So it is your 330,
332
332,
and
334. 335 is efficiency. 331 and 333 is for Anglo Indians. Please correct. Please correct.
330.
Not needed. I think I was confused with this.
No, sir. I mean, personally, I have to go.
Right? So correct that. 331 and 333 is Anglo Indians. 330, 332 and 334. That is with respect to the constitutional provisions. Then with respect to legal, you're again PCR, POA. I will not say MSA, but you talk about Forest Rights Act 2006. Then Panchayat Extension for Scheduled Areas 1996. Paisa. Panchayat Extension to Scheduled Areas Act 1996 and Forest Rights Act 2006. And others, protection of civil rights and prevention of atrocities. Then what about institutional? It is about NCST. Then you have something called as TriFed. TriFed, it is basically a marketing cooperative for your tribal products. TriFed. Okay. You also have tribal research institutions, TRIs. Tribal research institutions, TRIs. And you also have Department of or Ministry of Tribal Affairs, MOTA. Ministry of Tribal Affairs. So this is all about measures. Measures you can simply safely classify as constitutional, legal and institutional. You can write one line on each. And whenever you are writing measures with respect to your constitutional measures, you don't need to write about all articles, but write about those articles which are very specific to scheduled tribes. Because Article 14, 15, 16 is very much known. You can talk about 23, you can talk about 17. Then in that you can talk about 164, you can talk about 330, 332, 334, 338, Clause A. And 244, Clause 1 and Clause 2. Because these are very specific to scheduled tribes. Is this correct? Same way forward. Same way forward. The another point with respect to the scheduled tribes is an efficient R&R policy. An efficient rehabilitation and resettlement policy. An efficient resettlement and rehabilitation policy. Way forward.
And also deaths are more in schedule, tribes
With respect to?
because of lack of health facilities and
You can talk about even health facilities.
the mortality rate.
You can basically talk about, that's what I talked about, empowerment. So social empowerment or social basic needs. You ensure education, tribal health, right? Institutional inertia with respect to what? Your ADCs and tax, tribal advisory councils and autonomous district councils. You have an institutional inertia or lack diaciacal functioning of TAC and ADC. It's clear? Now I am not going to deal with OBCs because The khichdi of SCs and STs will be OBC. It's only that constitutional provisions will change. Similar articles, but it is only your Article 338B, Article 340. But whereas your Article 330, 332, 334 will not come here. Okay, even your Article 243 Clause D and Clause T will not come here. Because there is no separate reservation with respect to OBC. But you will talk about Mandal Commission here. Okay, you will talk about Mandal Commission for OBCs. But you can talk about Article 338 Clause B and Article 340. 338 Clause B is what? NCBC. NCBC. Here, 102nd Constitutional Amendment. Right? So, this is all about SC, ST and OBCs.
So can you give stats regarding the OBC?
OBC stats, I think I have to refer once. I don't remember
You
exactly.
have already given regarding the population.
I'll refer and tell you. OBCs, I don't remember actually. Or maybe when I'm talking about this Muslims, minorities in next session, this session, I'll give you stats. Okay. Now as such I don't remember by heart them. I'll give you stats on Muslims, all this. So nothing to worry. Any doubts? We'll take 10 minutes break. We'll take 10 minutes break and assemble back, and we'll finish children. Minorities mostly will deal only religious minorities, and we'll deal religious minorities as a broader topic. Will not go into specific, because when you look at the religious minorities, most of the atrocities are with respect to your Muslims, generally Muslims. So we'll see what is the comparison between Muslims, Christians, Buddhists and Jains with respect to the BPL, with respect to the unemployment rate, and you will understand how are these minorities figuring with respect to the religious majority, which is Hinduism. Now, if you are able to draw this parallel between the status of Hindus and the status of other religious minorities, then you can safely write the issues persisting with respect to the minorities. Then we'll deal other vulnerables like transgenders and disabled. Okay. Then I think with this, your vulnerable sections will be completed. Then tomorrow in the morning session, we'll see about education and health in specific. Education we'll see primary, secondary and tertiary. Health also we'll see primary and secondary, tertiary clubbed together. Then we'll see the aspects of governance. Aspects of governance, especially with respect to social audit, accountability, citizen charter, SHG, RTI, and any other topic you want me to take also, you tell me.
What questions can we expect from government?
These regions. Maximum these regions.
At least if you can highlight the topics, we can go back and then refer to those.
Maximum these regions. I can tell you, it will hardly take half day for us. Tomorrow, once we finish education and health, then we'll be free to tackle all this. So we'll take no issues. Now, if you want some topic to be specifically discussed in governance also, you tell me, no issues. I can take up. Only that I'll not be aware, I'll not be remembering those stats. Stats part, maybe I'll send you on the group. But as such, the concept, what is the present status, the evaluation of each of these topics, I can tell you. Okay. We'll take a break, 10-minute break.